Hey there, kids. A long time ago, when I was maybe 12 or 13 years old, I was out camping with a bunch of friends from my church, and a huge storm came. A storm so big that the tent I was in got blown over as soon as me and my two friends got out. Everybody else who was camping with us in our group, all their tents blew down on top of them, and they couldn't get out. The wind was howling at 100 miles an hour. The rain was pouring down. The lightning was flashing. People were screaming as the three of us got everybody else out of their tents. Now, God kept us safe, and it wasn't a tent like this, but it wasn't much better. It was a really old tent made out of canvas, and it was a box, not a nice dome tent like you sleep in today. But I'm glad I wasn't on the water in a fishing boat. Even longer ago, that's exactly what happened for a second time with Jesus and his disciples. But this time, Jesus, he wasn't with them. If you remember, one of those times Jesus was with them. Remember, he was sleeping on the boat? And they shook Jesus awake and said, "Jesus, teacher, don't you care if we drown?" They told Jesus he didn't care about them. How silly that was. This time Jesus wasn't with them, and they were afraid. They were fighting through that storm on that big lake called the Sea of Galilee all night long. And suddenly, they saw Jesus walking towards them on the water. Jesus walking on a stormy lake. And they were so afraid, they thought he was a ghost. And then Jesus says, "Don't be afraid, it's me." And then Peter notices it's Jesus, so he says, "Jesus, let me come out to you in the water." And Jesus says, "Come." And Peter, he starts walking on the water to go and meet Jesus, who's also still walking on the water. But then suddenly, Peter gets afraid because he looks around and he goes, "Wait a second. There's giant waves around, and the wind is howling, and the rain is pouring down, and the lightning is flashing, the thunder is crashing." He got so scared because of what he could see and began to sink. And he cried out to Jesus, "Jesus, save me!" And Jesus reached right out and got him and saved him. But then he said, "Oh, you of little faith, why do you doubt?" Maybe you guys haven't been caught in a big storm on the water in a little fishing boat, or like me, camping in a rickety old tent. But there's still scary things in life, aren't there? Scary things in life that we look at and go, "Oh no!" And we forget sometimes that Jesus, he will always save us, no matter what. When we forget about Jesus and his power to save us, that's when Jesus has to speak to us like he did to Peter. "Oh, you of little faith, why did you doubt? Why don't you believe me?" And Jesus does that to show us our sin, to show us that we still have little faith and we have a lot to learn in trusting Jesus. But Jesus, he also forgives you and me. He reminds you and me that no matter what, he will never let go of us. He will always hold on to us because he's washed away all of our sins. And he's promised to bring you safely home to heaven so that no matter what scary thing happens in your life, even if one day you should die, which one day it's going to happen to all of us, what does Jesus say to you? "I'll keep you safe. I will rescue you. I'll never let you go until I bring you safely home to heaven." So kiddos, remember, there's nothing you have to really be afraid of, because Jesus, he's always with you, even in the scariest days of life. Remember this, always. Jesus is with you, and he will never let you go.